Back in, I think it was October of last year, which would have been October of 2020, we were able to obtain a 55-gallon fish tank and the stand that it goes on and a bunch of accessories necessary to go with it at no charge. Someone was just giving it away. And I have for a very long time wanted to have a sizable fish tank, like something like that size. But purchasing a fish tank and all the accessories, it's not a cheap endeavor. So we were able to get this for free, and we went through the processes to get the fish tank up and running. And we bought some fish back in early December, and we've added some more fish to it, every couple weeks here and there. So we have this tank, this 55-gallon tank, as our community tank, meaning by community tank, it means it has a number of fish of different species in it. And we had in there a female checkered barb. And the checkered barb is really more of a schooling species, so you don't really just want to have one. So I went and I bought a male checkered barb, and my goal was to eventually add more and more to have like 5 or 6 checkered barbs. Well, we put this male checkered barb in the tank, and immediately it began to be very aggressive towards some of the other fish in the tank of different species. And I had done reading on it, and it seemed like it would be okay. It didn't seem like there would be a problem, but there was a problem. The fish began to fight. The checkered barb began to fight with a couple of the other fish, and one of our fish ended up being killed. Now, we actually didn't see it happen. We don't know for a fact that this male checkered barb was responsible for the death of the other fish, but we do know that he was being very aggressive. So immediately I took him out of the community tank, and I had an old 10-gallon tank that I wasn't using from a long time ago, and I got it up and running, and wasn't able to properly cycle it because I had to do it sort of in an emergency. But for you aquarium people out there, I took some necessary steps to make it safe. And long story short, the male checkered barb is now in a 10-gallon tank by himself. Now, I don't intend to leave him that way. I plan to buy more checkered barbs and put them in there with him. But there's kind of a lesson that I want to share with you that came to my mind as I was thinking about it. I think all of us, whether you're more on the introverted side or more on the extroverted side, I think that all of us can be cranky, aggressive. We can snap at other people, be hateful and mean, and and really drive other people away. And I think for the people who are more on the extroverted side, whenever you do this, you can only be away from people for so long before you're going to have to find people or make amends or something of that nature. But for me, as a relatively introverted person, and for those of you who are relatively introverted, and certainly some people are far more introverted than I am, the threat of being alone because you drive everyone away with your territorial nature, your anger, your meanness, your unwillingness to bend and work with people. The threat of being left alone to an introvert is not all that disconcerting. I mean, when I think about no one bothering me for an extremely long period of time, that thought doesn't cause me any stress or anxiety. I don't worry about that. In fact, in some ways, the thought of people leaving me alone and me being able to just do whatever I want all by myself for long periods of time sounds glorious. But as I looked at this male checkered barb in this 10-gallon tank all by himself, and he's still all by himself. We haven't introduced more checkered barbs to the tank yet. But as I look at this fish all by himself in this tank, and I think to myself, you did this to yourself. You were aggressive and violent, and now you're alone. You had to be segregated from everyone else. I'm reminded that, with fish, okay, they're just, they're doing what they do, right? They're just following their nature. And maybe sometimes being rude and mean and angry and hateful and territorial and belligerent is our nature too. But if you choose to be that way, you will likely end up either completely alone or much more alone than you otherwise would have to. There will be people who will come to the conclusion that you're not enjoyable enough to be around, or you're actually quite difficult to be around, and they'll just suddenly not come around anymore. They'll always have an excuse. They won't ask you, over for dinner or whatever it may be. And if you're an introvert like I am, or if you're, let's say, on the more introverted side of things like I am, then at first that will probably seem pretty nice to just be left alone. But eventually you'll really be alone. And it really isn't all that nice. And I say that because I've seen people grow old. I've seen people find themselves in situations where their life was too difficult for them to manage on their own, whether it was that they were losing their health or they were in dire financial straits, or, through the deterioration of their body, they couldn't clean up anymore. All these things that come about that we can't do anymore. You need friends and you need family who will hang in there with you and be kind to you and help you. And if you want those people to be there for you 10 years down the road, or 30 years down the road, or 50 years down the road, you have to be kind to them now and cultivate that kind of a relationship with them now. This video wasn't particularly meant to be decidedly personality type related in nature. I've just really been thinking about the lesson that I learned from watching this fish behave in such an aggressive way that it led to his own isolation. It led to him being taken away from the group. And then I really did think, for myself, that sounds nice. And I think for us who are introverts, it kind of sounds nice. Wait a minute, you mean I can just check out and not be responsible for having to be a part of those people over there that are sometimes crazy and annoying and frustrating? Sign me up. Where do I go? Where do I sign up for that? But that driving people away and then or isolating yourself on purpose and abandoning, if you will, neglecting your group so that they eventually feel that you're not a part of the group anymore and abandon you, that has some pretty negative consequences, as it has had for my fish, though he will have tank mates pretty soon. I've been thinking about that, and I wanted to share it with you. I appreciate you watching. Leave a comment below if this video in any way resonates with you. And do please click the little like button. Please subscribe if you have not already. And thank you to everyone who has subscribed. I think I'm close to 800 subscribers, which is pretty cool. Thank you so much for watching and have an awesome day. Bye now.